Good morning. I am just getting myself all bundled up with 2 layers of wool and alpaca and a hat on this morning because I'm about to go into the garden and it's very cold out there today. I need to pick apples. We have a big storm coming and it's the direction it's coming, it's just going to blow the rest of the apples off anyway. So I did bring in a lot a couple of days ago, but I'm going to bring in the rest now. Even if they're still kind of a bit tough on the tree, I'm just going to pull them off. Better that than them be damaged when they fall. So I'm going to do that first. And I think John's doing a run to the tip today with some rubbish, so I'll leave him to go and do that. Sometimes I go with him, but I think he can manage on his own because I have other things I want to do. And it's too cold. I don't want to be standing around taking things out the trailer at the tip, to be honest. So I'm going to, I don't think I'll be able to do it with gloves on, so I've managed to get a blister on my hand from cutting so much butternut squash and pumpkin and scooping out of the pumpkin from that we grew in the garden and peeling apples. I can't believe I actually got a blister from that. But it's a bit sore now. It was a bit sore when I was cutting the last of the apples yesterday. So I'm going to get those in and hopefully get the house a bit warmer and then prepare for battening down the hatches. I think John went down and tied anything down yesterday in preparation. And obviously I've got food prepped in preparation, so I don't think there's an awful lot left to do beforehand, but I will go around and check everything. Another basket full, and that's the lot of them. It's quite noisy here. If you can hear noises in the background, we have workmen at the end of the drive. They are installing new pipes and cables for the broadband, so they've got all the diggers and stuff out there. But that's good news, but I'm not sure how soon it'll be. I've come upstairs to attempt to do buttonholes, and I have spent more time than I care to think about trying to find the automatic buttonhole foot for my sewing machine. I have 2 sewing machines. I have my mum's old sewing machine, her old hefty Toyota, and I have a more modern Singer electronic one. And let me just say, I would rather have a mechanical sewing machine than an electronic one. It's a bit of a pain in the bum sometimes. Like when you suddenly realise that a stitch is going to go too far and you take your foot off the treadle and it still does the extra half stitch. Whereas if it was a mechanical one, as soon as you take your foot off the treadle, it stops. It's instant. And it's the instantaneousness of a mechanical sewing machine. But a automatic buttonhole maker is a bonus, but I can't find the foot, and it came with one, and I spent ages looking for my manual as well to double check, and it did come with one, and it's not in with all the other feet or anything like that, so I have no idea where it is. The only thing I can think of is when I had it in the old caravan, I had all my sewing stuff out there, and the only thing I can think of is it was left in there when it started to disintegrate, when we abandoned it basically, and it's gotten lost during the destruction of the caravan basically. So I did a look online to how much it would cost, and I'm like, I'm not buying another automatic button foot for my machine. So I did look on YouTube as to how to make a buttonhole old school style with a sewing machine. I found a good tutorial and I'm going to give it a go, where basically you have wide stitches, shorter stitches, flip it round and do wide stitches and then shorter stitches up the other side. But I've never actually made a buttonhole, so I think I've done one by hand, you know, sewn one by hand, but I've never actually made one on the sewing machine. So I'm going to give it a go. It would help if I actually had my white tailor's chalk somewhere, but I can't find them. I have a white pencil, tailor's pencil. I have a blue one here, and I also have a triangle of tailor's chalk as well, but I can't find either of those. And my fabric is like blue and orange, so I'm going to use a little black mark pen. And I'm going to get one of my buttons that I plan to use, which is a tiny one. Well, I say tiny, they are quite small. They are probably at 10mm, no, maybe a ½ inch. Somewhere between 10mm and ½ inch. Which isn't an awful lot of difference, but it kind of is. Sometimes you think, that's a bit bigger than 10mm, but it's not quite as much as ½ inch. And although there's only 2mm difference, it does make a difference. But these are the buttons I plan to use. If it'll show up there, these ones. So they're fairly small, so we'll see if I can get hello lens, so I'll see if I can get this buttonhole business to work, and we'll see. So what I've done is lost my button, is I've placed my button on my fabric like so, and then I've used a little pen and I've made a mark at one end of the button and a mark at the other end of my button, and then I've drawn a line from between those two lines. So I did already describe this, but apparently I had forgot to press the record button, but so here we go. So if it'll get it to focus. Hello camera, focus. There we go. You can see there are two little horizontal lines, those are the ends of my button, and then I have drawn a line between them, but you can't see very well because it's along that blue stripe, which is fine because I can use it as a guide. So the idea being that there is longer stitches across the two ends and shorter stitches down each side of the centre line, and I'll be using a zigzag stitch on a very short stitch length for these lines. So we'll see if this works. Okay, buttonhole attempt number 3, which is this one here, is definitely better than my previous 2. But I'm struggling to see what I'm doing. I might see if I've got a transparent foot that has got a wide enough aperture in it that I can see the stitches and the lines underneath. And I'm just not sure if it might be better just to do the two side lines first and then just do the ends afterwards. I don't know. Maybe it'll be okay once I've got a transparent foot on there. So I've just done my first buttonhole. I marked out where I wanted them earlier, well, just before I started, and I've used a quilting pen that I found earlier. I did find some tailor's chalk, like a triangle one, but it's not sharp enough, and I've kind of made some marks, but I'm going to have to go over them. So I've used the quilting pen instead. And the first buttonhole, it's not, it'll focus, it's not perfect, but it's not bad. And I've snipped the middle, it needs a bit neatening up, but the button does go through and it's not too bad. I just need to remember to hold on to the end of the thread when I started away, because I didn't, and it's a bit messy, so I just want trimming up a little bit. So I just have to do another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then decide if I'm going to put one at the top. 6, so better crack on. These are going to need a fair amount of tidying up, but at least they will be functional, which is the main thing. Some of them are better than others. I'm not happy with these ends at the top, basically my start and finish point. If I was to do them again, which I'm sure I will at some point on another garment, I will not be doing the end aside and end aside. I think I'll go side, end, side, end. I think it'll just make it better, because otherwise you're going over the end twice in effect. So yeah, first time, lesson learnt. Now to get these cleaned up, and then I've got to get the dinner on. Okay, before I go for today, I just wanted to show that I have finished my Let's Boogie sweater. I have cast off the bottom band with a stretchy bind off, and I ripped out the collar and redid the collar, so it now has an I-cord bind off. It's not my tidiest I-cord bind off, I have to say, but I didn't want it to be too tight. so it needs a bit of a tugging here and there to kind of neaten it up a little bit. But I'm really happy that I changed it to match the cuffs. So all I've got to do now is weave in a ton of ends, but this is only a temporary finish because I figured out why I don't like the fit of the body. I went wrong. When I did the waist shaping, I did it back to front. I must have been very tired that night when I was knitting, because I don't know if you can see, there's this slight bulge here. Yeah, that's because I did, instead of doing the waist shaping to come in and then out, for some reason I've gone out and then in. I did increases and then decreases instead of decreases then increases. So once Halloween has come and gone, I will be ripping the body out up to, you know, above the where I did the wrong waist shaping, and I'll put in the correct waist shaping, and it just means I have to reknit the body and the bit of colour work and all of the rib again. But I'll have nearly another year before I need to finish it. The only thing I probably will need to do is I will have to reskin the yarn, not the orange because it's only going to be in the rib, but the body yarn. I will need to reskin it and wet it and let it dry so it straightens out, because it'll be all wiggly like in a packet of instant noodles once it's all ripped out of the stockinette. So it's a pain in the bum, but at least it's not like in the colourwork yoke or sleeves or something like that. It's mostly stockinette knitting. There's all the colourwork at the bottom is mostly like, I did a bit of striping and I did a little bit of colourwork here and a little bit of colourwork there, so it's not that big a deal. It's mostly that rib that's going to take me at least a couple of days to reknit again, but like I said, it doesn't really matter. So I'm going to weave in the ends on this, and then I need to do the little eyes and little blushy cheeks on the ghosts, and then it's ready to wear for Halloween, or on the run up to and Halloween. It'll be ready anyway. Okay, see you tomorrow.